Hey everyone, welcome to Matt's Tiki Hour. Happy Sunday. Hope everyone's doing well. It's episode 28 of Tiki Hour, which is insane. So we've been learning about all these different cocktails along the way. We started with the history of cocktails, or tiki cocktails. We started with the grog, which evolved into a daiquiri, which evolved into a grog cocktail, which keeps evolving and evolving and evolving. And for the last 6 episodes now, what we've been doing is putting all of Beach Bum Berry's drinks into essentially a wheel generator, and it spins. And every week I've been choosing a new drink. So here it is. There was once a tale of a drink called the Suffering Bar Steward, apparently, and it might have been created by a Scottish man in Cairo, and it might cure your hangover. So it might have been called the Bar Steward. It might have been made by a Scottish man in Cairo, and it might cure your hangover. The truth is, the drink actually wasn't called the Suffering Bar Steward. It was called the Suffering Bastard. But the name was changed because people got offended of the vulgarity of the name. They were like, we don't want to hear bastard, it's a bad word. So they changed it to the Bar Steward in some bars. But it wasn't created by a Scottish man. It was actually created by an Italian Jewish man of the name Joe Scialom. And it was made in Egypt, in Cairo. And while it probably doesn't cure your hangover, it is very refreshing. It definitely makes you a bit toasty. And it's something nice to sip on during a hot Egyptian day. We're kind of in Egypt right now. I'm sweating through my shirt, so it's pretty rough. Joe Scialom in 1942 in Cairo, Egypt, and it was made at the Long Bar in Shepherd's Hotel, which was a very famous hotel in Cairo. It was said that when he was working at the Shepherd's Hotel, it was said that Joe was making massive amounts of this cocktail. Like, numerous stories I read were saying he would batch gallons of this stuff in preparation. And the main reason for that was because he was making these drinks for members of the British Army. So essentially what was happening at the time, in 1942, the British Army was in Cairo, and they were fighting Rommel's surprise incursion in Cairo. So they were in battle. They were actually fighting a war, essentially, doing the incursion. And all of these people would pop into the Shepherd's Hotel because it was super famous. And Joe was surrounded by like multiple military classes. Royalty would come through there, and like very important politicians. They would all hang out at this bar. That's kind of where his drink gained popularity and put his name on the map. The thing is, Joe was actually expelled from Egypt after all of this. So in 1956, after the war and everything, the Egyptian government was kind of done with it. They were like, get out. He was expelled out of the country completely. And that's like sad. That's his home, because he was actually born in Egypt and lived there, and of course made a career there. And they kicked him out. They expelled him from the country. And it was mainly because there was fears that he was partaking in espionage or taking sides against maybe the government or standing up against the Egyptian government. But the thing is, our friend Joe here didn't take sides with politics. He has one of the coolest catchphrases ever. He was interviewed after the whole event, and they were like, so how do you feel about, being expelled? How do you feel about the war? How do you feel about Egypt? And his answer was, I mix well, but shake politics. I love that response. I think it's so classy. It's like, I'm just here to do my job. I don't care. I love that mindset. That was his famous statement. And it wasn't all bad news, though. So after he was expelled out of Egypt, he was offered a job by a Mr. Conrad Hilton. Mr. Conrad Hilton. Hilton Hotels. So essentially what happened was he became a famous bar manager. He moved to Puerto Rico. He worked at the Carib Hilton. He was the bar manager there, and he created numerous cocktails inspired by the Caribbean, by Puerto Rico, fruit juices, syrups. He kind of just thrived. He was in his element and made a ton of cocktails for the Hilton chains across the world. This man jumped all over the place. New York, San Francisco, the Caribbean again, London. He was all over the place bartending across the world, living his dream. So him being expelled out of Egypt actually ended up being a life dream. He did what he got to do and make amazing cocktails, travel the world, meet amazing people, and had a very fruitful life from getting kicked out of his own house. So kind of an interesting story. There's a really, really awesome article about him, like I mentioned, on The Atlantic. Beach Bum Berry's Potions of the Caribbean book actually covers it way more in depth. Beach Bum Berry talks about it during seminars. There's a lot of story. to Joe. Joe has a crazy backstory. I'm just giving you a small tidbit of this man's history, and I love it. I think it's so fascinating. During a stretch of time where the British Army was coming in, this is kind of where we get the history of the Suffering Bastard. So if you're like, where does this all come in? Why are you ranting, Matt? Where do we get the Suffering Bastard? Here it is. During a stretch of time, the Suffering Bastard came into play when he was making these drinks for the British Army. They'd come into the hotel, they would drink at the hotel bar, and then they would complain about the drinks being too strong or not delicious, and they were causing hangovers because the high quality ingredients weren't there. The restaurant, or I should say the hotel, was running out of things nonstop. There was an incursion going on, so there was like the battle being done, and the military, they were just drinking everything up. And so they were getting rough drinks, and they were hungover all the time. And so this is where Joe decided to create a cure by sourcing better quality ingredients to make it better drinks. So he kind of made up this concoction to cure the hangover, and he found a local ginger ale merchant, which apparently there's a whole backstory of this merchant being really shady. Didn't put that in the story here, of course, but I don't. The idea of that makes me laugh a little bit, like a really shady ginger ale merchant. I don't know. I just imagine a grandma with a basket full of ginger ale hoarding them all. I don't know why. Maybe because my grandma always had ginger ale. That's kind of the story. So he mixed up and perfected this drink to make them feel comfortable with higher quality ingredients. It's delicious. It's refreshing. It was meant for Cairo, Egypt. And he would make gallons upon gallons upon gallons of this stuff. He would batch it up and he would serve it up to them. And it was constantly being ordered. So this is the Suffering Bastard, one of the easiest drinks ever to make, and it is delicious. What this drink calls for, before we get started, is you need gin, you need brandy, you need, it doesn't call for lime juice, it calls for Rose's Lime Cordial, which is a sweetened lime juice, Angostura bitters, and of course ginger beer, and mint for garnish. And it's all served in a double old-fashioned glass. What I didn't have on hand is Rose's sweetened lime juice. This is Rose's Cordial. You can get this at any grocery store. Apparently not any near me. I had to go to not the farthest one, but the one I don't go to normally. And the liquor store was sold out too. But I'm only gonna use it for this drink. This stuff's not that bad. It's just sweet lime juice. High fructose corn syrup is the first ingredient. So, I don't know. But yeah, this is essential to the drink. This is the flavor profile that was documented from Beach Bum Berry. Some people make their own, but I'm gonna make it just as it's prescribed in the book. That way we get the original flavor profile from the 1940s. So you need some gin, brandy. We need Rose's Lime Cordial, or they call it Rose's Sweetened Lime Juice Concentrate. Actually, we need Angostura bitters. So we have Angostura bitters. We need our ginger beer, and then we need our sprigs of mint for garnish. There's the cocktail. Super easy to make. So let's make it. So you do 1 ounce of gin, 1 ounce of your brandy. Then we're going to need half an ounce of our Rose's Lime Cordial or sweetened concentrate, whatever you want to call it. I'm making a double, so I'm going to do 1 ounce here, but it's half an ounce. And then we're going to do 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. In this classic bottle, it's actually going to be 4, so I need 8 dashes for my double. So. All right. You don't want to be like Army of Darkness and do 1 extra drop and then be stuck in time, right? And that's it. That's the whole cocktail. So all you do is you put a scoop of ice in there, you shake it up, and then you add your ginger beer in after the fact. The best part. You do a scoop of ice, another scoop of ice. All right. Here's what you do. You do your you do 4 ounces of your ginger beer. I know you can eyeball it, but, you know, I'm trying to be precise. Ginger beer is very overpowering. Do a little skosh of ice on top, of course. All we gotta do is you do a sprig of fresh mint, a bouquet of mint. Wake it up, you slap it around your drink. Twist off the ends, of course. Here's the Suffering Bastard from 1942. Here we go. Very good. You're gonna get the ginger beer notes first because ginger beer is a little overpowering. I get the Ford's gin out of it. I love Ford's gin. So I'm getting like, do you taste lime at all? Do you taste gin? Like, what are you tasting? A little bit of lime? It's not normal lime juice. It's definitely sweet. It's almost like a soda, right? Because like ginger beer has that like heat to it because it's ginger beer, but this tastes like a soda, which is, it's a spicy soda. Yeah, it's really cool. So having like the gin and like the lime cordial as like the sweetener, essentially, it tastes like we're drinking alcoholic Sprite of some sort, but it's got 2 ounces of booze in it. It's pretty good. So this on a hot summer day, easy. What would you rate it? What would I rate it? So for me, for this drink, I would say it's honestly probably 7.5, 7.5, 8 maybe. Probably one of the higher ratings we've done in the last couple episodes. So refreshing. Like, this is incredible. I like it.